Houston's home for sports is 88.5, the Sports Hub, a Beasley Media Group station.
Boston by one. Derek White going slowly, straight away up top against Halliburton. Halliburton comes to challenge. Tatum sets the high screen. 10 on the shot clock. Derek White down to left side. Pump fake. Kick out. Open. Tatum steps to his left. Three in the air. Got it!
Big boys step up at the right time, man. Oh, Tatum. Yes, yes, yes.
And 1,000 talking heads go silent as Tatum drills the monster three to put Boston up by 4.
I got your talking head right here, buddy. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up.
42.8 to go in the overtime.
You made the best observation. The Pacers cannot lose this game. I don't care what happens. They have to find a way to come back in this basketball game.
All right, Celtics fans. Drive it like you stole it. That's exactly what happened tonight. 133-128. The Celtics take game one in overtime over the Pacers. It wasn't pretty. It had its moments. There were end of quarter shots going in every quarter tonight. The big one, though, Jaylen Brown with seconds remaining after Rick Carlisle decided not to foul. And that's where I want to start tonight as we bring in Cerrone Battle. Cerrone, that's the number one takeaway. What Rick Carlisle, who's been there before, right?
Yeah.
I'm going on. Joe Missoula was awesome tonight, and we'll get to that in a minute. How does Carlisle not foul in that situation? And then what happened later in the game? It was Missoula that didn't allow a three-point shot. And in that situation, all they had to do was inbound the ball, right? They couldn't even do that. So I don't know. Why don't you just foul? They didn't. Brown gets the three, sends it into overtime. I thought that's where the whole game completely fell apart. Even that was a bad move, bad coaching. Everything went down in the end here, but let's celebrate a Celtics win.
Yeah, I mean, it's real quick. What's going on, Joe? How you doing,
bro? That was wild tonight, man. It was
wild. And I think it turned with the pressure of Drew Holiday on Halliburton. They said enough with the switching, enough with the nonsense. You're paying Holiday $250 million to be a defensive guard. And he started locking up Halliburton. Halliburton felt the pressure, started dribbling out of bounds when they had chances to kind of put the Celtics away. They go to inbound the ball because of the Celtics ball pressure on that last play. They try and get it into Siakam. Jaylen Brown makes a play looking like a DB coming out of nowhere and forcing that turnover to get the ball back to even get the three-point attempt. So the Celtics defense, to me, they turned it up on this team when they had to and made the plays. And it was their stars who did it. But I think the defensive plays from Jaylen Brown, the steal off Siakam, the play would cause Siakam to deflect it out of bounds. And then, of course, Jaylen Brown hitting that shot. And listen, Siakam still fouled him. I don't care what anyone says. That was a foul. In today's NBA, Jaylen Brown's elbow was in his face, and he hit Jaylen Brown's legs. It was a foul. That should have been an and one on a three-point attempt, but I understand the ref staying out of that. But, yeah, once he caught it and pump fake, Siakam should have just wrapped him up and held him. Just grabbed him and just held him. Maybe he didn't want to foul him taking a three-point attempt, but sometimes you got to play the numbers. Jaylen Brown shooting 60% in the playoffs from the free throw line. He was 3 for 6 at the time, at that point, I believe. So what, you fouled Jaylen Brown shooting the three? He ain't going to make all three of those, but they blew it all the way around. But I think more than Carlisle, I think Siakam was the one who completely became Toronto Raptors Siakam down the stretch of this game.
Wow. A lot of takeaways tonight. I'd like to keep it positive as they stole one. And when it came into overtime, Jason Tatum scored 11 of the 16 points, hit some big shots, got to the rim. It wasn't pretty tonight. He had his turnovers. If you go back early in the game, they took him out early. Usually he plays the whole first quarter. So his night was interesting, and if you look at his statistics, it was great. He had an awesome night. He always does this to the Pacers, by the way. He averages 33 points a game against them. I think people are going to be critical of the end of the game, him taking the final shot. That's what we would have been talking about if the Pacers didn't blow it. So I don't want that to get lost tonight. Mm-hmm. But when it mattered in the clutch situation, it was Jason Tatum. And how many times, Cerrone, have you and I sat here and said, and I'm empathetic. I'm really like onto this thing. These guys can't do it alone. Like, right. Tatum and Brown helped each other tonight. And in overtime, exactly, on both ends, they got a great game. But Drew Holiday, like you mentioned early on, but like they are going to have to win as a team. People are going to be critical again of Jason Tatum late in the game taking the shots. But it was Jaylen Brown who hit the big shot, and it elevated them to a win in overtime. But I thought clutch moments, if you're going to get on Tatum, give him his props for coming through in overtime and putting this thing away.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have high turnovers when you play 40-plus minutes. It is what it is. Look at Halliburton. Look at the Pacers. Look at all the good players that played tonight. They all had their moments. Guys get tired. Guys get winded, whatever. But Jason Tatum, they put a stat up early. He had missed his first free throw, and he had made 28 in a row in the playoffs. I'm like, well, I didn't even realize that. He missed a free throw since the early stages of the first round. But I thought Tatum had stretches this game. I think he was a plus 20 tonight. Every time they pushed the lead to double digits, he would come out for a second. And every single time he came out of the game, the lead would shrink. And I'm sitting there, and I had tweeted out earlier, people question the importance of Jason Tatum and his impact, but every time he steps off the court, the Celtics just collapse. Didn't matter if it was the Pacers bench was on the court. They collapsed. They got bad shot attempts. They weren't going to the basket. They wouldn't get free throws. And stretches where he wasn't touching the ball, they struggled to score. They collapsed. They missed 33-pointers tonight. But he was the only one that said, let's just get layups. Let's get layups all night. We can go to the layup. We can get layups and free throws against this team all night. And nobody was really doing that with him. Brown had his stretches of doing that. But they started settling a lot. But I thought Tatum, if they found a way to hold on to those leads when he came out of the game or was sitting for a few minutes, they would have blown this team up. But if you notice, you said they had a double-digit lead in every quarter of the game because every time Tatum would come in, they'd push it to 9-10. He'd sit down, they'd get it, it'd cut the three. Tatum come in, they push it back double digits. In the second quarter, this fluctuated the whole game. They get to overtime. Tatum takes over, says, you know what, screw it. Let's go get some layups and get to the foul line and put this team away. And he did what he's supposed to do. And locally, nationally, if you're going to give other guys around the league credit for winning close games when they only have 16 points and go 5 for 25, you got to give Tatum his credit for giving 36 in the playoff conference final and double digits in overtime alone. So he was the hero for the game. Not the hero. Brown was the hero. Tatum did his job and closed them out in overtime.
They got to do it together, and they need help. It's, people want these guys to take over and be the number one guy. And I don't know how many post games we have to do here to tell people that the game has changed, right?
How many 30-point, 12-rebound games we got to do for Tatum before people say he's a good playoff performer?
And you know what? Again, if people, people are going to bring up him late in the game with his shots.
Of course.
I think it's valid. It was funny because Skaz and I are sitting here, and I'm already getting, hey Joe, do you still want Tatum taking the shot? Hey Joe, do you still want Tatum taking the shot? I do. But tonight, if you watched that out of bounds play, by the way, did you see the pass by Drew Holiday to find Brown in the corner? Normally that's a bounce pass.
I hadn't even noticed that.
He almost kind of spun it to him so he could catch the ball to actually get the shot off. If you get a chance to check that out again. But yeah, they needed everybody tonight, and the benches were different. Indiana really turned over the game after a 12-0 lead. Their bench took over. They dominated there. The Celtics definitely dominated on the free throws tonight. They got to hit them, though, and they did down the stretch. So there's a lot of things to clean up here, and the Celtics said all those things after the game tonight. I just wanted to bring up the fact that the two star players who face a ton of adversity, did that tonight, and they responded after that adversity. Tatum in particular, right, had a bad turnover, got the and one, and then a sidestep three. Maybe that's the jumping point for him. He's been doing it all playoffs, but maybe that's just the catapult for him the rest of the way here.
Yeah, I mean, and one thing people have to realize, if this is your first time watching the Pacers, this is what they do. This is the highest scoring team in NBA since the 83 Nuggets, who put 184 points up without shooting a three. This is the highest scoring team you've seen in this league in 40 years. They score the basketball. They run. Their point guard gets a ton of dimes. As a team, they move the ball. This is what they do. On the flip side, they are one of the worst defenses in the NBA. So they're going to score 120 points, and you're going to be around the same one you're in and probably outscore them. The free throw difference. Everybody's been jumping on that. You see a lot of stuff on Twitter, locally and nationally. Oh, they're getting robbed at the foul line. The Indiana Pacers led the league in fouls. They fouled more than anybody else. They fouled more than anybody else in the playoffs so far. They've allowed the most free throws in the playoffs. They've allowed the most free throws throughout the whole season. The Celtics, on the flip side, fouled the fewest in half all season. They've allowed one of the fewest free throw attempts all season. This is who they are. After 90 games, you are who you are. The Pacers foul that way because they are a terrible defensive team. They have no choice but to grab, pull, hold, do whatever. Neesmith just flying around, just throwing himself into the crowds. This is what they do. It's up to you to attack them and get to the line and go to the basket. When you settle for threes, you bail them out. Halliburton, as good as he is, he doesn't defend. McConnell does not defend. None of their guards did anything defensively. You saw what Holiday did against those guys. You could post them up at will. The Celtics got in trouble when they started settling for threes. They missed 33 pointers tonight and still scored 133 points. Imagine if they hit their threes. They already put 150 on this team early in the season. They're capable of doing that if they just made their shots tonight. Shots didn't fall, and they still scored 133 points.
Oh, listen, all the things that everyone says about the Celtics happened tonight. Put them in a close game. Who will take the shot late in the game? Any close game, they'll choke. Like, all those things somewhat happened tonight. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that didn't happen, but they just won the game.
Yeah, they stole it. That's what you do. Good teams, they stole it, Joe. They stole their opportunity. So, and then go. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just going to say, like, it's we can be critical, but they are. Like, after the game, they celebrated, but they knew they were bad. Like, they knew they stole one. They knew they got lucky. They knew the Pacers brought their A game. My whole point is that, like, we should celebrate the fact that they faced adversity, hit shots when it happened, and they won the game. And just one other thing on this. The non-Jason Tatum minutes tonight, when he wasn't on the floor, they got destroyed. They were an awful basketball team, which is, again, something they struggled with at some point during the season this year. So that's something to keep an eye on. But for the people who do want to discredit Tatum, when he was off the floor, they were awful. Right? He missed the big shots late. Sure, you can get on him for that. But when it mattered in an overtime game to close it out 11-16, an and one, a sidestep three, boom. Like, he faced the adversity. He got the help from Brown, and they're up 1-0 in the series.
That's it. That's all that matters, is you find a way to win games. We gave all the Celtics great teams credit for finding a way to steal games at the end. Bird stealing the ball. You notice we never show the first 47 minutes of that game. All we see is Bird making a steal, DJ getting a layup, and we celebrate it. We never talk about how they were down. The game was basically over until they stole a play. But they had their moment. When they made the play defensive, they made the plays defensively first to get the ball back, to get opportunities to even tie it. They did it on both ends. And then once they got the steal, Brown hits the key shot. One of your stars made the big shot, and they went to him, drew it up. He made the shot as they designed it. Then once they tied it up and went to overtime, they all looked at each other and said, yo, let's turn it up on these dudes. And they did. Joe, they took it to another level in overtime that Indiana could not match. And they turned it up on them dudes, and Tatum alone was just too much for them to handle, and the better team prevailed in the end. This is how you win championships in this league or in any sport. You have to win the ugly games. You have to win it when you don't have it. You have to win it when it's tight. All, like you said, all those things happened to them tonight, and they found a way to steal a win away. Now Indiana has to go back and say, yo, we wasted a Miles Turner 20-point half. We wasted Obi Toppin's best half offensively. We wasted TJ McConnell hitting everything. They wasted all those opportunities, and now they got to go next game and say, yo, what if we're off? What if Indiana doesn't shoot 50+% from the floor? Now they're in real trouble. So the pressure is on Indiana because they know they can't go down 0-2 against this team. And I think the whole battle-tested thing, the Celtics now know what they're bringing in. They threw their best punch at the Celtics, and I think they'll be ready for them in the next game. But you have to give them credit for finding a way to steal this game.
Championship teams know how to win games. That's what happened tonight for the Boston Celtics. We'll start it there at 617-779-0985. We do have to get to the headlines here, but on the other side, Rick Carlisle versus Joe Missoula. There was some things on both sides. I didn't think we're going to get a coaching matchup, and here we are now. We saw it tonight. This is going to be a series, everybody, or is it? We'll get into that after the headlines. Cerrone Battle's here, Skaz as well. I'm Joe Murray here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines.
All right, Celtics win tonight in overtime, 133-128. They trailed by 3 points with under 10 seconds left, and Jaylen Brown hit a three.
Everybody knows Joe.
Just keeps getting better.
Joe Murray on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
This loss is totally on me. With 10 seconds in regulation, we should have just taken the timeout, advanced the ball, and found a way to get it in and made a free throw or two and ended the game. But it didn't happen, and we made some other mistakes. But our guys just need to concentrate on fighting the way they fought in this game from start to finish, and we'll be back Thursday.
Wow, back here at 98.5, the Sports Hub. That's Pacers coach Rick Carlisle taking blame for the loss tonight. I called him out right off the bat there, Cerrone Battle, who joins us here in postgame. So I thought Missoula was good. The only real question marks I have were Jason Tatum. Normally he plays the whole first quarter. He came out, played 9 minutes, I believe. And then they went on a run, right? They brought in McConnell, the Pritchard. They were going back and forth for a bit, but Obi Toppin got going. So that's really the only questionable thing, and I wonder if it's more about Tatum. Is there something there? Is there more to that? Do they want to rest him because they were down a big? I don't know. Just there was something to it. They did it late in the game, too. I don't know why they did it in the fourth quarter. So that's one of my Missoula question marks. The rest of the way, he set the tempo all night. Even with like a 13-point lead, he'd call a timeout whenever the Pacers went on a big run. But his out of timeouts were fantastic. And I think Joe Missoula outcoached Carlisle tonight. I'm saying it right now.
He did. You hit the nail on the head. And there was my only gripe with him was it might not even just been him. It might have just been Al Horford. It was a lot of times Al Horford dropping on those pick and rolls, and they were just hitting mid-range jumpers or threes at the top of the key on Al. But they made the adjustment because you remember Miles Turner had the half of his life. I think he had 20 points at halftime. And the Celtics went to that zone, and you never saw Miles Turner again the rest of the game. They completely shut him out in the second half. Same thing with Obi Toppin. They took those guys away in the second half. And if it wasn't for Siakam catching fire for a little while, the Celtics would have blew them out. He kept them from getting that lead up to 20. But I think Missoula switching in and out of the zone and man, it confused Indiana late. They turned the ball over a ton off of that. But I think the Celtics, they got good looks offensively. I didn't like the fact that Al Horford took 12 threes tonight. He took more than anybody on the team. You got to lower that number because I think he can get buckets on this team in the paint. I don't think if you want to play pick and pop with Al Horford, you might be able to do it with like a 10-foot jumper as opposed to a 25-foot three-pointer. But I think he took too many threes. He didn't have it going tonight. But again, they still scored 133 points, so I'm not going to nitpick on that. But I think the Celtics and Missoula, he had a good game plan for them. He made the adjustments. He called the right shots down the stretch and in the overtime, and I can't knock him for that at all. And like I said, this Pacers team is going to score. They do it to everybody, but I think he made the right adjustments. And Carlisle, he had a bunch of gaffes during the game. And real quick too, the Pacers were better when Halliburton was on the bench. I don't know if anybody caught that.
Well, I thought
they were better when he was out of the game.
I thought
and he kept pulling them in.
I thought when Siakam was out too, they went on little runs too.
Yeah, they did. They played better basketball without those guys, and his bench would make a run, and then he would sub those guys out and bring his stars back in. The Celtics would push it back up to 8 points, and I'm glad he did it. But he made some questionable calls tonight.
So funny story about that. I'm sitting here with Skaz. Skaz and I are watching the game in the studio, and I go, just throw it inside to Brown or Tatum on Halliburton and put him in the post. And they did that for like 3 or 4 plays in a row. And then I look on you, and I saw your Twitter, and you're like, throw it inside to the post.
It's so obvious.
And I was like screaming, and it was like Missoula was listening, you know? So that's what I mean. I think he pushed most of the right buttons tonight.
He did. And I think they could do more of that. I think they'll go back and watch film and see they can get the post up with Halliburton all night, make him tired so he's not hitting those threes. He's not pushing the pace, make him play defense. I think even tonight, all the assists and all the points he had, he was a -7 out there. He struggled. And he out of 18 shots, 14 of them were threes. He was hesitant to get inside the three-point line. He was taking fadeaway 30-footers, and they were hitting him. He's not going to hit that every night. The dude was coming off a major cold spell up until the halfway through the Knicks series, but he's not going to hit pump fake fadeaway side threes at the buzzer repeatedly in a game again. I mean, it's just every game this series, we keep saying it, one team has this magical night where they're hitting everything, and it puts the Celtics on their heels or they lose, the Cavs in Miami. But you see the rest of the series, things come back down to earth. You shoot your averages, and it's really hard to beat the Celtics when you're not doing something extraordinary on the offensive end. The Pacers did that. They just couldn't sustain it, and their lack of defense cost them in overtime, in the fourth quarter in overtime.
All right, Benny's in Oxford. Hey, Benny.
Hey, guys. What's going on? Gutsy win tonight, man. Gutsy win. I'll take it. People want to complain. These guys don't play in the clutch time, or they want to see them in this type of moment. And then when they get in this moment, still want to complain about how they're performing. JB, big shot, big stop, forcing that turnover with Siakam. I'm just happy we got the win, man. Feel like we stole one a little bit. We were down, but I just like how we came through in the clutch. I wanted to point out, I've always talked to you guys about Al Horford's minutes. 40 minutes again tonight. I feel like we just overplaying him. When Turner's not on the court, the only thing I would like to see Joe do is go Brissett, man.
Small. Yeah, we were thinking about that. Appreciate the call. Skaz and I are talking about it. I don't. They were without Tillman tonight due to the loss of his parent. Mm-hmm. I don't know yet. I don't know. Maybe they're just not. Maybe they're not going to someone else until they need to. We've talked about before putting Tatum at the 5, right? Something we've discussed.
Yeah, and they've done it against the Pacers this season too. He's done it several times against the Pacers.
So maybe we'll see it. But besides that, Missoula out of the timeout, looking inside. They were crushing it from twos. By the way, the Pacers are very good at defending the perimeter.
They are.
So that had something a little bit to do with their struggles tonight. But good teams find ways to win games, man. And I'm chalking it up. I know there's a lot to look at, but I feel better winning the game and going into game 2 knowing everything you did wrong and what you did right. The free throws, you got to clean up. The turnovers were awful. But again, these are the things that always peak up, right? They always show their head around this time of year. But tonight, they faced the adversity and they seized the moment.
Yeah, they did. And again, this is who the Pacers are. This is what they make you do. They turn you over and turn them into layups. They're the best in the league at it. This is what they do. For those who did not watch them, this is how they almost won that in-season tournament. This is how they beat the Celtics earlier in the season. This is how they beat a lot of good teams. They get up and down. They force you to score. They play fast. They look sloppy at times, but they make you look worse. Like you said, they're terrible defending the paint and defending the twos. They foul a lot, but they play that three-quarter court man defense and force you into tough shots on the perimeter. But if you can get by that first wave of defense, you get layups behind it. And the Celtics did that early. Started the game with that. Jaylen Brown open play of the game. He was dunking on somebody. It's there all night if the Celtics are willing to stay consistent with it. Try not to take 44, 45 threes. Get that down to 35 threes and give me 10 more layups to the basket, 10 more shots to the basket. This game isn't coming down to the stretch. You're blowing them out. You're up big. They had their chances in every quarter to push it from 10 to 15, 20 points, and they just couldn't do it because they settled in for threes. But the layups are there. Halliburton's not going to become a good defender, neither is McConnell over the next 2 days. So you're going to have the same opportunities in game 2.
All right, Cerrone, we'll have more to react in game 2. We're going home early tonight.
I hate it.
We're all a little that was emotional. That was got me into it though, right? The Celtics haven't had one of these this year, really, in a big game.
Yeah.
It was good to see them prevail, but again, this is a must-watch series, and the Pacers were down 12-0 in the first quarter, up by 3 with 10 seconds left in the fourth, and lost by 5 in overtime. That was the night tonight. So appreciate you, Cerrone.
Thank you for having me.
Game 2, man. We'll be hopefully there's not more overtime. We'll have more to talk in post-game. Appreciate you joining us tonight, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you. You guys have a good one.
All right. So we're back here tomorrow night for a full show. We're going to react to this all night long. Brian Robb is joining us tomorrow. We'll also talk with Mike Cadlick, CLNS, throughout the show tomorrow night. So we'll be back here, live reaction. We got video about to go out. Enjoy this one, everyone. You stole it. Tatum wasn't great. Then he was awesome. Clutch moment. Don't forget it. Clutch moment. For James Scaramuzzino, great job. Check out all our articles in the game recap by Skaz at 985thesportsup.com. I'm Joe Murray. Full show tomorrow night. You want to let loose? Full show. I'm Joe Murray. I am out. We'll see you tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, here on the Sports Hub.
You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5. You're listening to Joe Murray on 98.5 The Sports Hub.